How do, everyone? Yes, welcome back to the Potty Mouth Garden Club. Yes, nice to be. It sharp comes round. Boy, does it come round, man. It's just show notes and everything like that. It takes so not so long, but it's just we're here again, and it's fab because it's a lovely little place to be. So, house cleaning as when. Don't forget, the Discord is there for you. It is a home from home when the potty mouth's not on. It is there for you to kind of jump in and join in. And we're going to have a competition in there as well soon as well. So keep an eye out for that one. Don't forget the questions. This is important. Type a capital Q and just get your questions, type it in after that capital Q. Then I'll be able to kind of find that and I'll not be kind of running out of content. What else we got? Fridays is the secret, and it's a good one this week. We've had a nice little chat. We've got Jess back from Plot 37, so it's nice to see Jessie. We've been chatting away there as well. This is where that competition will be in the Discord, so all you got to do is click that little button down, the blue one down the bottom, and that'll get you into the competitions when they're going on. What else we got? Don't forget to subscribe. That would be absolutely fantastic. I think we've got more than 1,600. I think we're actually over 2,000 there now, which is really sweet. And yes, the podcast. If you would be so kind as the podcast, let's subscribe to that. Let us meet everyone. There you go. Hello. 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 Right, Jessie, before we go any further, I've got a job for you. Right, let me just... Yes, Greens Grown Local has offered, let me just zoom in there, to give away a microgreen kit, one of these microgreen kits, to the live chat today. So, Jessie, if you would be kind enough to pick someone at the end of the day from the live chat who you think's cool, who thinks, done some work, and then we'll get a microgreen kit for them as well. So that's one job, Jess. Thank you very much. Right. Now, Stephen.
Hello, sir.
Are you well? Are you good?
Yes, very well, thank you. Very well. Very happy today.
What's the weather like? Anything good or not? Or
I don't know, is your weather app not working?
Well, it's to be honest, this is the coldest day, Steve. Then I think I'm away cooking now. It's summer or it's spring.
What?
Well, I heard you say, Steve, to be honest, because I think JB mentioned in our chat as well that his temperature has been really good. You know what I mean? So it's quite nice. But you're saying don't be fooled. Don't be fooled by this. We're still in winter.
Yeah, it's false spring. I mean, spring, I think, started either the second or third week in March. And by the weather people, meteorologically, I think it's start of March, so somewhere around then. We're still in winter, it's official, and February is also winter. So,
do you not think, though, Steve, maybe it might be a little bit different this time? I know, we're kind of, you've got to, stick to kind of the history of things, but we've had such a weird year last year. The chances are it might be a little bit strange.
It could be. We never know, and that's as gardeners we plan for it. I mean, I've held off on a lot of my sowings this year for various reasons, but I'll be starting again, very, very soon, and then it's all guns blazing. Because really, I mean, you're looking at sort of 7 or 8 weeks, and then it is spring, then the temperatures are warm, and then it's time to get things planted out, but under cloches, just in case. So you got to start thinking that way. I mean, I know lots of people have already been sowing a lot of things. I say I've just held off slightly this year because I got caught a couple of times last year. So I'm just hedging my bets a lot.
I've sown all my chili seeds, man. I think it's the 50th or the 12th of January, man. Do you know what I mean? So I have sowed a second batch of red onions to be safe. Have your wise words. Just keep on sowing. So I haven't been up for a few days. So
when you're impatient, you can't hang on. If you've got a packet of seeds there, you'll be looking at them from the corner of your eye and you'll be thinking, I've got to get them into some compost quick.
You know what it is, though? it's every year it's like this, and I don't know if it's because of the YouTube thing or not, but they start off lovely, and yet they do just like they always seem to be the poorest ones. Eventually, once you kind of, and even
Yeah.
you remember when we were talking about the tomatoes, Steve, and you're saying
Yeah.
take them side shoots off. Them
Yeah.
side shoot tomatoes were better than me main tomatoes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
that
a better
happens. That
cropping.
happens.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it can
So
happen. I mean, as I say, I've said this a few times on my channel, and even on here on Potty Mouth, we never used to sow a seed. And what's the old expression? You don't sow until May is out. And what that means, there's a couple of things. Until you're in May, or the May blossom is out on the trees. So anyway, it all transcribes to around about May, and we never used to sow seeds until May. There was only a couple of things, onions and a few bits and bobs like that.
right.
But most of our sowing was done in May, and you just got a rocket at the start, and you still got crops anyway. It's mad.
That was before the wars, wasn't it? Then.
Which one?
Yes.
All of them, he says.
JB, nice to have you here, sir. Are you good? Are you
Hello,
well?
hello. I'm very well, thank you. Very well.
Good. Is the greenhouse finished?
Yeah.
Do you know what it is, though? All this is going to come back to haunt me. Do you know what I mean? All this skit. Because I'm
Yeah.
going to
Yes.
get, do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
going to be
you can't lay it
brutal
on
for
too
me. I'm
thick.
going to lose my temper. There's going to be pain smash. It's not going to be pretty. So how are you doing with it?
I was there this evening. Tony, and I still need to get some of the glass. I filmed a little update for Wednesday. Bit unusual, but there's going to be a little greenhouse update on Wednesday. And I think pretty much all the prep is done now. So it is just a case of getting the glass and then glazing it.
So once
And then, to be fair, I do want to do work inside, like making beds.
yeah,
and
but
stuff,
that's not.
I'm not counting that.
That's not. So once that glass is in, JB, that's it. It's done. The door's on. It slides. Everything like that. All the kind of.
It should do.
Does the door
Should do.
slide now?
Do you know I've not actually tested it? It should. Like
I remember putting my dad's up. And it was like, oh, it looks fair. You know what I mean? Like what Steve we talked about before. There, Steve said, got to get it straight, got to get it square. I remember, and it was just like, you know what I mean? It was like a little bit janky. So
yeah, my current one is like that. It's not good. So fingers crossed.
Jesse, how are you doing, lass? How are you doing? Nice to have you here again. Oh, fantastic. Are you good?
I'm good. At the beginning, right at the beginning of this, when you were giving me instructions, my computer decided to open YouTube on 20 channels, so I just had your voice like echo. The whole
I thought
time.
you seemed a little bit kind of
I had no idea what was going
rabbit
on.
in headlights. So
And then people in the chat are saying no pressure, Jesse, and I'm like, oh my god, what's he asked me to do?
So do you know
yeah.
what? Do you know what I've asked you to do?
No idea.
Right. We'll do it again then. So I should have picked somebody else. Really. So Jess,
Yeah.
Ian over at Grown Local is going to give away as a competition one of these micro green kits because we've tried them all and they're just fabulous, to be honest.
Yeah.
So there's a link actually on the show notes and the actual on the thing as well, the live thing. But if you can pick a comment, Jess,
Okay.
out of all the, like, you know, tonight or when we're finished, somewhere around when we're finished, someone who's been active, who's been, you know, a top dog, a good sport, you pick a winner and then we'll try and work out how to get that microgreens kit.
Okay.
And I think Ian said as well, he's going to throw in some seeds as well. So round of applause for Ian there let me just put you this. This is my little page, by the way, if you just want to pop, like I say, get your seeds, because we're going to be talking about seeds as well. So I've got my seeds, and this is, I think I mentioned this. This is the one, that rose one that we've been talking about. But we've also, the parsnip challenge is coming. I don't know when it's going to start, but these are the ones, Gladiator F1s. So if you get your Gladiator F1 parsnips, and then, I mean, unfortunately, you'll not be able to beat me because I will have the best parsnip. You know what I mean? I'll kick that old boy into touch, man, with my methods. Jess, have you seen what I've got here? These are, remember the tomato? Now, can you see that? These are those black Trifeli tomatoes.
Oh, yes.
So I've got some of them as well. So I'm quite. Someone mentioned in the comments there. So I only get 10 seeds. So I don't want to drop them when I've grew up, when I'll kind of get them. And plant them.
Yeah.
Where did you get
You'll
your? Or did you keep yours, Jess? Your black Trifelis? Are yours from a previous growings, or did you buy them from somewhere else?
I always got them from Pentland. Is it?
Right.
No, Pennards. Sorry.
All right, right. Oh, wait, hey,
Hello.
what's going on?
Whoa.
Hey,
Nearly.
hey, that wasn't like that.
It's not that sort of a show.
Excuse me, Vicar.
Oh dear.
Right, I tell you what, we'll keep to the basic 4 pattern. I was telling everyone I've got a new update, right? The bloody new update, man. And it's not. I should have tested. I should have tested that at first. Right. How do we go? Where do we go from here?
I'm not sure.
Where do we go from here?
I nearly just choked on my drink.
Everything is professional, right? I'm gonna crack on. I'm just
Black
gonna ignore
Trifeli.
everything. So
Black Trifeli.
Tomatoes.
yes,
That's yeah.
where did you get them from then, Jess?
Pennards.
Pennards, right? Because
Yeah.
I don't think I got mine from there. Because I looked around for them. So it's tomato Japanese black Trifeli. Is that how you pronounce it? Is it?
I mean, I do. But
Right. So that's and I've also got Jess as well. I've got my cucumber started. It's about say big as well there. Yes, I've done my cucumber, and I've got my notepad, Jess, because you always come up with something, and I've got to write it down. So there you go.
normally.
Right.
Yeah.
We will jump to. These are an old questions from last week. Steve kindly pulled them off. Now Andrew Hodgson is saying, has anyone tried the Berkeley Compost method? Now, I hadn't heard of the Berkeley Compost method, but I did have a little kind of Google search if I can just find my mouse there and pull it up. I don't know if it's like a fast, well, it says there, actually, composting in 18 days. Do you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
Steve, that must be even faster than your hot bin kind of thing, this Berkeley method, is it?
It is, but you've got to be attentive to it. You've really got to be on the ball with your composting. So, your standard things like everything cut up small, preferably. You want a high carbon content. I think it's something ridiculous, like 80 or 90% carbon. So loads of bark, twigs, cardboard, that sort of thing, leaves, a lot of that sort of stuff. But then you've still got to have the nitrogen to produce the heat, and grass clippings are a brilliant one for that. All that compost I pulled out of my home composter?
Yes.
Now, all that is going to be Berkeleyed in my polytunnel. As soon as I can cut some grass here, as soon as it's dry enough, cut some grass, I'm going to do that in the polytunnel because I've now got beds free. So, because you leave it for, I think it's 4 or 5 days, and then once the heat's built up, you break the pile apart and you put the outside on the bottom, then the outside from the other side on the top, and you stack it because you're mixing it then.
Right.
And then
right.
every 2 days from then until it's finished, you're turning it.
Right.
Turning the whole pile to a new position. It's not that bad. It's just it's 5 minutes with a fork. It warms you up on a winter's day, and you get compost at the end of it.
I've struggled turning me kind of long haul compost. Never mind the hot bin compost. So this Berkeley method. Like I said, first I've heard of it. JB, have you heard of it?
I have. Steve told me about it once. We've all heard about it in the WhatsApp, Tony. You've just forgotten.
He doesn't read it.
The WhatsApp now is getting too fast for us. This old fella can't keep up with you kids. The kids on WhatsApp are just going. So, have you even thought about doing it, JB, or not? Or?
I think you need quite a lot of material as well, don't you, Steve, to get all of that heat and everything going. The whole process kick-started. And for me, on the allotment, it's always kind of dribs and drabs just going on the top. It's a slow compost at my plot. there's things I can do to improve it in terms of moisture.
There's no
and
pressure
air,
for
but
me with like a slow compost. You just like, you
it's
know what I mean?
easy. It works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you can do it
Don't need
once
to
a
always
year,
change
that's
it.
kind of. Jess, what's your view on the kind of? Have you heard of the Berkeley method, or do you do fast composting?
I don't do fast compost. No, it's really slow.
Uh-huh.
But we get like probably two full compost bins of end product every year, so it kind of works out all right. We're never ever going to produce enough to actually, furnish the whole allotment. So you just kind of make what you can, really.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, I like you say, that kind of just to put it in, and then eventually you know what I mean, it sinks as you go through the year, but then cap it off, and then it's, I mean, you've got that first year of like nothing. You know what I mean? Where if you're starting out as a compost, you know what I mean, getting your compost, you've got nothing
We
for the first year.
do turn it quite a lot.
What was that? What was that, Jess?
We do turn it quite a lot.
Right.
So we, from one bin to another, and after about 6 months, it is ready to go.
I remember you saying, Jess, as well, and it was like a lightning bolt, because you said, like, I wish we could kind of, get your compost, you get your homemade compost, put it on your beds, and get that first season, that first scythe of weeds off and away. And I was like, do you know what? I've always fought with that, like worried, like, my compost, I'm not doing it right. I thought, thinking, do you know what? Everyone gets these weed, just like blanket covers, and I was like, don't fret about it, Tony. Do you know what I mean? Don't just kind of just take them off, and from there, Jess, from then, just done it. So, thank you very much.
As an aside to that, if anyone wants to actually go and look it up, if you look up a guy called Richard Perkins on YouTube, he's a bit of a no-dig gardener. He's on the continent. I forget it's either Sweden or Finland, I can't remember which. But he talks on one of his composting videos about using a similar method to the Berkeley method, where they used to put animals in the middle of it. Obviously dead ones, of course, but the whole thing would compost down. Yeah, the whole thing would compost down. There'd be absolutely no trace at the end of it. That's how hot those piles get and how efficient they are, that they can dispose of a whole dead animal in there, which is quite incredible, really.
Well, there you go. The Berkeley hot compost, and like you say, Steve, that's got to be faster than your bin. Like, we're talking like 18 days there, the hot bin. So, but it does seem like this rush to get your compost. It's almost like stressing to get your compost done in like such a quick time. When if you just step back and just let it go, get it. It's ready at the end of the year when you want it. You know what I mean? That's the time you want it.
But it is no stress. That's the thing. It's it's just a bit of work. I mean, if you think about it, you're doing no dig now, so you're not digging anymore. Why not put the work somewhere else to your benefit?
Hey, behave yourself. Right, let me just pick this. Andrew is here. Let me just get Andrew's little question. Evening, everyone. I plan on planting a few varieties of potatoes: Charlotte, Kestrel, Lady Christie. What is the best way of spreading out the harvest? Spread out the planting or through storage? Ooh. Stephen, I'll come to you there, because you're a storage man with your potatoes, because even in this massive failure that I had, and you had a little one, you still managed to store some. So what do you think the best method is?
Store them, definitely. I don't think you can spread a potato harvest only by sort of doing first earlies and main crops. And of course, mentioned on a previous live cast about starting some seed potatoes early in the greenhouse for just about a week or two before your main crops come in. The first year your first earlies come in,
I think as well, Steve, you've got that kind of, it always like you get everything planted and time's never on your side. So your potatoes are just left in the ground. So that maybe like 2 weeks early, grabbing a quick plant might not work at the end when you have, there's something come up and then. So I think storage probably the bee's knees. You know what I mean? Yes. JB, anything to add to that, sir?
No, I think it's a good point. I've always struggled with potato storage, and they don't last too long. And I think the issue has always been they've kind of gone in a kitchen cupboard, and I think it's just too warm, right? Yeah. That's my question to you today. Is that what it is? Is it warm
definitely
in the house? I think what I want to do this year is build something in the conservatory, because that's nice and cool, but it's only cool after kind of September, November, because it sort of gets a bit of sun in the end of the day, and then it gets way too hot, obviously. But if I could build something that kind of made sure there was no light getting in, and then that might be a good place to store them where it's cooler.
Jess, any thoughts on that? About, cause with me personally, I never get enough potatoes to kind of last. Do you know what I mean? They kind of just go in the potato bin and then they're used before.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I have tried storing them, but my main problem is always everywhere I've got that's cool enough to store them, there's rodents, and then they get so happens every time. So now I just eat them.
Have you got somewhere in your house where, like, you know, Steve was saying, where it is kind of cool where you could keep them? Or because it's exactly like that in what JB's mentioned for me. It's like when you want to store them, it's too warm. Do you know what I mean? There's nowhere kind of decent.
We've got like where we would store potatoes that you buy, you know, or vegetable that you get from the shop. We've got like a walk-in larder type thing, but it's right kind of in the center of the house. It's under the stairs, so it's hot all the time. Our conservatory out the back, like JB was saying, it gets cool at night, but in the daytime the temperature just rockets up. It's south facing, and then we've got a shed at the back which does stay really cold, but it's full of mice, so it's like just eat them.
Yeah.
Well, like I say, storage then I suppose is the best way, but so we will see. I've got a question from Jedi Lurker. Is mentioned, how do you prevent foxes from using your bed as a toilet? Now, I've probably only had one instance of and this is someone I think in comments mentioned, I found a full egg in one of my beds, in one of my kind of beds, and they said it was a fox that had put it. I mean, it wasn't broken or anything. It was JB.
I was like, foxes don't lay eggs. What are you talking about?
How do you know?
They mentioned it like someone, an animal's put it. This is not. It's just falling down around my ears. This today. But surely you've heard, JB, about foxes burying eggs. Am I right here, or has someone just been?
Do they do that? Maybe they do.
Stevie's shaking his head. So yes, they do. Stephen, put a bit of sensibility. These kids, will you, for God's sake?
Do foxes really lay eggs? No, they will bury them and come back for them later. Generally, if there's too many to carry for them, they'll eat one and take one home for the young or whatever and bury the rest. But the best way to stop foxes coming into your garden is, okay, it's not pleasant, but pee on your boundaries.
Right.
And that'll stop them coming in.
Right.
But only
Jess,
if you're a
territory.
Jess, would you do that?
Well, yeah, get your chap to do it for you. Yeah.
to be a man, it doesn't work if you're a bird.
Right.
The traps have, so I've been trying to recruit, but it's not going very well.
Do you get foxes then, Jess?
Yeah, we do.
Right. And what damage would they do?
Well, they dig a lot. They dig stuff up and they bury things like eggs and such not. But I find if you leave one of your gardening gloves out in a bed, they will poo on it, just perfectly placed. And so then
that's just rude.
Every time we leave a glove out, when we come back, it's got a present on top.
Oh.
So, which is charming, easy to clear up, but not ideal.
But mind you, if I ever go out with the dogs and the roll in foxes poo.
Oh no.
Man, it's like
else,
straight into the yard. You know what I mean? The hose pipes on full blast. All the kind of dog grooming products are coming out to try and. It's just like because I travel about say a half a mile to the dog walk place, and it's like in the car coming back. You know what I mean? And like one dog's rubbing against it, so you've got to watch the three of them. Do you know what I mean? Because they come out of the car, and it's like lovely. Lovely.
Oh dear.
Right.
The peeling around the boundaries, I mean, from like a small amount of experience, it does seem to work. Yeah. I think if they were really determined, they would just ignore it. But if there's like options of where to go, they're going to not go for that option. So, yeah.
There you go.
Right. Never heard of that, to be honest, but you know what I mean? Let's see. Right. Right. Matthew is asking. Matthew Eifler, what fruit veg would you want to grow but you can't due to this climate? I guess our climate, UK there. Well, the one that I can't grow is that Chinese bloody cabbage. I've tried for a number of years there now, so that's mine. Never. Yes, I've got failures with most veg I've had failures with. There's just one big long list, but the one I would like to get is Chinese cabbage. JB, is there a certain veg that kind of is beyond your reach?
I'm just thinking, I don't know if you can blame your Chinese cabbage failures on climate. Can you? There was a person the other day on the Discord. Did you see theirs? It was amazing. It was like some of the best I've ever seen. So I think you might be able to get it yet, Tony. Don't give up hope.
Tried long, JB. Honestly, I've tried a few, and well, the winter, the frosts have knocked mine. Do you know what I mean? Like the outside leaves go a bit kind of just yuck, and the inside start to fail. But maybe it's just JB. I've got that touch. You know what I mean?
Maybe the greenhouse. The greenhouse will save you.
Is there anything, JB, that you're kind of would have just loved to kind of?
I was trying to think. I'm not 100% sure because if we can't grow it in this country, it's not really something I've thought about, if you know what I mean. There are some that I would really love to try. I think Jessie, you have a peach tree, don't you? And I was quite apricot. Is it I would love to do peaches, but I'm assuming they need a
No, there's somebody on our site. There's somebody on our site that has the most incredible peach tree. Just
really
produces masses of them. Perfect. They're just wonderful. Yeah, really nice.
How big? Did you see you've got apricot tree, Jess? Have you? How big does that grow? Does it take over? Or?
It's quite big, but I've got it. I give it a really good chop back every year, and it's about maybe 10 foot, and I just keep it to that and hack it back.
And you get a good.
You're not chop them because they get disease in them really quick. But
right. Do you get a good crop from them, Jess?
Huge, absolutely huge.
Right.
Only 1 year we didn't get anything, and that's because they flower so early. It's funny because they flower really, really early, but it just so happens that where they flower, it's still really cold, but they get pollinated, and then it's only after that we get a cold snap, but it's once the flowers have already gone, and it doesn't damage the fruit. It's only if we have that cold snap just like a week earlier, and the flowers are only just coming out that it gets got. Otherwise, we can have frost way after that, and it still fruits. So it's just like a
right.
Sometimes they get it wrong, but it's only actually happened to us once that it all got taken out. But we get our freezer is full of like halved apricots. It's just brilliant.
Excellent.
Oh, that's lush. Did you plant it, Jess, or was it there?
No, the guy, there was an allotment above us, and he was there for years and years and years. And when he left, he said, "Take whatever you want from my plot before it gets handed over." And so we just went and dug this tree up, and it had been in the ground. It must have been at least 10 years. Right. It was quite well established, and we just dragged it over and planted it. Didn't know it was going to survive. It did. It was perfect. Absolutely brilliant.
What a trooper.
Tough little thing.
Right, look at this, Steve. Mark's asking. This is exactly my question I was asking before the show started. Is it possible to move a greenhouse in one go without dismantling if you have a big van? If you have a van big, oh God. So I'm guessing there's no glass. So I'm guessing surely it's not going to be the glass as well, but it must be just the frame onto the back of the van and away. Would you recommend it, Stephen?
I wouldn't recommend it, but I mean, if you can get 4 blokes and a couple of bits of wood underneath it to support it, then you could put it on a flatbed trailer, I suppose. But I mean, it's just as easy to take apart, and they come down fairly easily into sides and roof bits. I certainly wouldn't advise it, and definitely don't do it with a glass in it. Definitely not.
Yeah.
Well, we'll ask our resident greenhouse expert.
So, I whenever I've moved them, I've tried to keep them as together as possible, because when you're in the back of someone's garden, if you're like dismantling it, you really don't want to be there any longer than you have to be. So all of those nuts and bolts that fuse, I just leave them, forget about them, deal with it when it's on your plot. And the less dismantling you do, the easier it is to put together. But yeah, certainly not with glass. Not with glass.
JB, so when you kind of came for yours and you got yours from like that garden, did you just take like because when I'm reading the instructions, you put up the back, you put up the sides, you put up the door. Did you just take it like that, or did you take it all down, kind of?
Yeah, no, just so I had the two sides, the front and the back, and I left the kind of roof. All the rafters, they kind of came off because they're just gullied, so they slip off. But yeah, like the main sides, they go a bit wobbly. They lose their structural integrity. But yeah, it's fine.
How did you actually get it to your plot, JB?
Man with a van, 50 quid on Facebook.
Right.
Thank you very much.
There you go.
Happy days.
Jess, have you got a greenhouse? Right.
Yeah.
Was it up there before you got, or did you put it up? You and Mum put it up, or
We had one before. It was a shorty, so like this normal height, but like quite shallow. And we're right next to a school boundary. And at the time, the school was a difficult school, and the kids just used to throw things and like try and smash our glass. So the school actually ended up buying a new greenhouse for us eventually. And we got a bigger one. It's excellent. But we moved it to the other side of the plot. But yeah, it came as like brand new kit.
right?
We have got masses of glass. Every time I see JB like not having glass, we've got stacks of it behind. But I've got no way of getting it to you. Like it's just.
It won't be the right size either.
I keep like
Guaranteed.
peering down and thinking, I'm sure he could use that, but it's like.
So how have you got all that glass left then, Jess?
Well, I can't actually remember why we've got so much glass, but we've got like enough to do a whole nother greenhouse. There's just masses of it, and it's just like stacked in sheets behind.
Wow.
But it's like you were saying earlier, Tony, about the space behind your greenhouse and not wanting to waste it. Where our greenhouse is, we've got about 1.5 meters behind it, and it's just wasted space. Like I keep trying to do something with it, but it's just like right in the back, and there's nothing.
Well, that's exactly. I mean, with me though, it's like the further it comes back, so there's more space, the closer it's getting to my back door. You know what I mean? Where that's the kind of wood. But I've got one of those like shorty ones.
We did it like we moved it away from the edge so that light would get in on all sides. But actually, I don't know whether that was such a good idea.
Right. It's stressful for us.
They're so easy. Greenhouses are just so easy to put together. They're no stress. It's just really great.
Mark, there you go then. Maybe not. Question for Stephen here from Let's Grow Home. For Steve, at our community allotment, we had communal polytunnel put up, but the condensation is something else. It actually rains on you after you open the door. Any suggestions, Stephen?
Yeah, I've got 2 suggestions. One, which is one that I do when I walk into my big polytunnel in the morning in the growing season, is I kick the door frame so I don't get rained on. That will release all the condensation from the plastic. And then I open both doors at both ends. But now, of course, last season I fitted vents to my polytunnel doors. So I've got one at either end now, so that condensation doesn't build up anymore.
So no, with them vents, Steve, there's no condensation at all now.
It's much reduced. I didn't really notice, to be fair, but they were fitted about halfway through the season last year, I think. And it was much reduced because as soon as the sun was coming up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, it was ventilated. And by the time I rock up at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning, it's all sorted,
Right.
But yeah,
right.
Kick the door frame before you walk in and then ventilate. And if you can, get some greenhouse vents and fit them to your doors or a window somewhere.
Jess, any thoughts on condensation? Because I know I get it in mine, but not to the point where it's kind of almost tropical raining on. You know what I mean? You can kind of you touch the
I've got
sides.
tropical rain set up. It's only a small polytunnel, but it is just kick the door frame when you go in. That's, that's good. But no, I've got 2 windows at either end to try and get a draft through, but I've covered them in Enviromesh. So in the middle of the summer, it does like have a really good draft through it. But when you close it up, it's pretty soggy in there.
We have David Scully has got a little question here, which is, this is my first winter with a greenhouse, and my grapevine and a few other plants seem to be going mouldy. Any tips? Mouldy
Ventilation.
grapevine? Is it? Is that the all kind of locked in?
Ventilation again.
Right. There you go. Kick there.
It's tricky this time of year, isn't it? Because you kind of want things to be cozy and warm. But even in a greenhouse, you just got to ventilate it.
Well, that's JB. I mean, it's exactly that. You know, the daughter's coming in saying they're in this rented property, and it's like there's mold coming in, but you've got to open the windows, but you've got to have the heat on. Do you know what I mean? And then it's just costing a fortune, and it's just happens in the in the house as well. You know, you kind of kick your foundations. Yeah. Right. Let me see. A question from last week. Stephen Kelly has said, "Hi folks, last summer I grew carrot fly resistant carrots. Fly away. I've harvested them in autumn and stored them in compost, but they went rotten after 3 weeks. Is this normal for carrots?" Now, Steve, you've actually did your carrots, didn't you? You kind of stored them. So
I stored mine in a clamp, yeah.
What's going on with Stephen then? After 3 weeks, they went rotten.
I don't know, to be honest. Maybe they were put away too wet. There might have been too much moisture in the compost. The only other thing I can think of is the carrots that were stored away too close to each other. One of them got a bit moulded. It might have been bruised before it went into storage, went a bit mouldy, and that sent it right through all of the stored carrots. It's difficult to say, really, without seeing, pictures and that to get a sense of it. Well, I would suspect damp, sort of too moist to compost, or
right. So as a non-storer here, you see if there's like one carrot's kind of manky, it'll just keep on spreading right the way through.
If it's touching the next carrot to it, yeah. So that's why they always say, with storing potatoes, if you can, not to have them touching, and always check on them once a week. Take out any mouldy ones, any that are looking a bit dodgy. Just keep a check on them. It takes you 5 minutes to do, but it's the same with storing apples. You don't store them right next to each other. You wrap them up and keep them separate. It's just to stop mold spreading.
Jess, any thoughts on that? Is that? I mean,
no.
I guess you're not.
It's a bit like the potatoes. I never really grow enough carrots to store them, but I've never. I mean, I've kept them for sort of a short amount of time dry, and they've been all right. But I don't have any experience storing them long term.
No, it's exactly the same with like the carrots, especially. Sorry, they just get used up so quick. Do you know what I mean? It's just like good handful, like a good cake. You think, wow, good batch handful, and it's one meal. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, God, it's half of my bloody carrots gone already. And and it's such a thing where sometimes like they'll not germinate, then you get a late germination, so you've only got the one really better carrots in it.
But do some varieties store better than others? Are the carrots the same as like?
I do wonder. Yeah.
Yeah, if he's growing a new variety.
Because I grew those in my first year, the flyaway, and they did not last very long in the fridge. They shriveled up really quickly. It's really weird. So it might be the flyaway variety is bred more for resistance and storage.
Possibly that is then, if you know what I mean. So
that's quite often you find that though when you've got a variety of a particular thing. It might be a carrot or a beetroot or something that's got a specific quality. Then it suffers in the other qualities because it's been bred for that specific thing. The other things tend to get bred out or become lesser. So it could be that it's been bred to resist carrot fly, but now it's rubbish in storage. Could be.
So here's a question then. What would you have? Carrot fly no carrot fly or good storage? I'll come to Stephen first. Which one would you have?
Oh, well, definitely no carrot flies straight away, because that just destroys it. If they get in, then it can be. No, it's horrible. It's horrible to have.
I know. JB, is it the same?
Well, it's really weird on our plot. I mean, I am famously bad at carrots. Okay, there's a few crops that I don't go on. But carrots, last year especially, I had like 2. It was terrible. But the ones that I have grown, the few that I have grown, have been carrot fly free. So maybe I should just get one that stores and tastes great and not try fly away again.
Which carrots have you tried then with a tiny bit of success? Did you see flyaway ones?
I think Autumn King did quite well. Flyaway I did in my first year, and they were, to be fair, the best ones I've ever grown on my plot. But I think that was just some kind of weird luck. But Autumn King have done okay, and the little ones, Chanteray,
Chanteray,
yeah, those they do okay.
Mm-hmm. Jess, any thoughts? Is
No, just on varieties, like the carrot that I've had the best success with has been Touchon. And I've thought, like, over years that it's just been a carrot year, and then I've gone back to growing other varieties, because you keep getting free carrot seed on magazines and stuff. You've got so many different varieties. Keep throwing them in. The only ones that ever work for me are the Touchon. So I've got rid of all my other carrot varieties this year. I'm just sticking with the one I know. That one.
I'm writing that one down.
Write it down, Jess. Write it bloody
I
down.
actually grew Touchon last year. I grew Touchon, Autumn King, Chantenay, and I think the other one was the winter one, Eskimo. And they all did. I've actually got Touchon. Oh, and a purple one as well, a Purple Sun or something, I think it was.
Yeah, I tried that.
Which really nice.
For anyone,
he's writing them all down. I'll send you a list later, Tony.
Send us the seeds. That'll do.
The other one that I've grown the last 2 years was Jean Obtus de Daubes.
Can't even spell that.
I can't say it.
I think you're just making them up. So I'm going like John Obtus in draws. What's
like Jean as in like yellow, Obtus de Daubes, but it's a yellow carrot, but it didn't have great germination at all. But what did come up, such a nice tasting carrot. It was really, really nice tasting.
Well, I'm growing carrots with my stabilizers on. I'm using that tape,
I might try some of that, honestly.
Honestly, it's like painting by numbers, and when you see the finished product, you go, hey, that's all right. I did that, but you didn't really. But I've got loads of them. I've got about 7 packets there now, ready for.
Jeez.
Brilliant.
I've got a new one here, which I haven't tried before. This is that one. I don't know if anyone's grown that, knows anything about that one, but it's Australian.
Australia.
Right. Where did you get them? I know you got them from DT Brownwood. How did you come by them, Steve?
Can't remember. I just found them the other day. I was looking for those trifle tomatoes, which I found.
Trifle tomatoes.
Black trifle. Mm.
Yeah, black trifle tomatoes. They're lovely. Which I did find. I've got about 7 seeds, so you've got 3 more than me. Yeah.
Well,
so I don't know anything about that top weight. That's a new one.
That's the Jean Obtus, if that helps anyone.
Oh, very good.
Right.
Screen grab that. I would put you on the other one, Jess, but so we can see clearly. But I'm that button's marked in red at the moment. So it's
I've done my close-up shot for today. Thank you.
It's blinking red, so don't touch that, Tony. Right, we've got Kevin Muldoon is asking from last week as well. Once your onion seeds, and this is a good question, once your onion seeds begin to sprout, how long is it reasonable to wait for the last ones in the same tray to germinate? Now, I kind of came across this. You know how you get the odd one coming through. When do you kind of think that's enough? I need to kind of replant them. Now, just my thoughts was I would just leave it till as long as possible, because that little, I'm just going off, the little trays what I use, about 8 inches by 2 inches and about 2 inches deep. I've left tomatoes growing in there till you know what I mean? And they look way healthier than the ones I've pricked out. So to be honest, I
Yeah.
wouldn't, me personally, worry about the last few germinations. Just let them all go well over the day
Yeah.
you want to take them out. You know what I mean? Steve, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll do pretty much the same. If I needed to sow a second batch, just a new container, put that container, the first one, to one side. It's got a label in. It doesn't matter if they start coming through, you know. But I mean, in general, I mean, if everything's right for those onions that come in the first place, they really should be up in a week, 10 days, 2 weeks max. And if they're not up by 3 weeks, you can safely chuck them away, I would say, if you short on space, that sort of thing. But otherwise, I would just leave them to one side and get another tray on the go. I've had a terrible start with onions.
I was going to
this
say
year.
that's what I was going to pull you up there because my onions have been perfect. They went.
Oh yeah, Mr.
Perfect. Mr. Peter Perfect with his south facing
Yeah.
little window there, just germinate. But
You'll
you
all
said
come crashing down in April, don't you worry.
everything just like moldy failures. You know what I mean?
Oh dear.
But you did say, Steve, yours have just started to come through from your
Yes.
Boxing Day sowing.
No, that's from a fourth sowing, I think. I think I've had 3, maybe 4 different types of seed, and I've either done 4, maybe even 5 sowings, different ones, and some have just refused point blank to come up. Some trays I've had like 2 or 3 onions out of sowing maybe 100 seed in there. So I've just had really, really, really poor results, and no reason why I can find. Normally they're bulletproof. You sow them, walk away, come back, there they are. But this year there's been a real struggle.
And were they all new seeds, Steve, were they?
Yeah, they're all new seeds. I got some
Right.
from Robinson's. I got some from a good eBay dealer that I know, and some seeds were from last year. My first seeds I sowed were actually from last year, so you could say not fresh seeds as well. But hopefully we're getting a seed supplier sorted out for that.
Right.
For next year.
We have freezing tomatoes. David Bruff is asking, on the subject of freezing, when freezing tomatoes, do you freeze the whole tomatoes? Now, I know Audrey would kind of jump at this question because she does freeze a lot of tomatoes. I've froze them and I just freeze the whole lot. So I kind of get like a nice freezer bag, fill that up, squash as much air out as possible and just put it in. And then when they come out, it comes out as a big kind of wet red block of tomato, but I use that as the sauce. You know what I mean? So whatever you freeze, you kind of got to use it when it comes out.
Yeah.
JB, I mean, you've had some good success with tomatoes. What's your...
Sometimes I've had some, not last year. I tend to freeze them whole, which might not be super space efficient. But then if you just drop them into boiling water, the skins just come straight off, and it's super easy then to just kind of mash them up and do whatever you want with in a sauce or what have you.
In a nice hot chili sauce, JB. I hope you watched my video.
I did. Indeed.
Yes, I hope you watched my video on how to make a chili sauce. I'll teach you a thing or two, lad. Don't you worry about it. You just watch me, lad. I'll show you how to kind of make a chili sauce. Yeah.
Not so.
Steve, do you freeze tomatoes? Being a chef, is that something you would kind of do?
Yeah,
is it sinned upon?
Well, no, not really. If you need to preserve something and you want to do it quick, then just get them in the freezer. I mean, JB says there, take them out and put them into hot water and the skins come off. I find once you've defrosted frozen tomatoes, the skins will come off anyway. But yeah, no reason why not.
Jess, what about you? Are you freezing?
It's not very space efficient freezing them whole, but I've tried a lot of different ways. I've chopped them and put them in a moulie or whatever and tried to mash them up, but actually it just seems to be better to just freeze them whole. I don't bag them up before I freeze them. I lay them on like a tray and freeze them so that they're not squashed together, and then once they're frozen, I bag them all up, and then you could just take one at a time, however many you want out of there, and they work really well.
So you've got like almost like little red like snooker balls kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
the only way I did it, and actually I did it once, and it was a Jamie Oliver method. And there was no freezing involved, but you just put it with garlic, I can't remember if there was olive oil in as well, but there was basil, and you just put them in jars, like raw, and just kind of put them all in, and then sealed them, boiled them, like sealed them in like a boiling water. You know how you kind of soak them in boiling water,
Yeah,
leave
it
them in
sounds like canning.
storage. Hey, and like the garlic and the basil just infused right, and it was the perfect sauce ready to make a bolognese sauce or a good chili sauce. Watch that video, JB.
I mean, I must admit, I don't do a great deal of freezing whole tomatoes. I only do that as a last resort if I haven't got time, because in general, I will either make a soup or I'll make a sauce and freeze that, because, as Jesse was saying, you save so much space by doing that, and you've got a ready-made sauce. You just pull it out, take a frozen block of sauce out and throw it in a dish, and you're done. Nice and easy and simple.
Jess, if there was one veg that you're keen to freeze, what would it be? What is it?
What, like one that I'd like to be able to
No,
eat
just like one that you it's a staple, like you always freeze that one if you grow it.
broad beans.
I was gonna say beans for the kind of such an easy kind
Yeah,
of.
I this year is the first year actually I've managed to freeze French beans successfully. Often they blow, and they're just not a nice texture when you come back to them.
Yeah.
But I got them right this year, which was nice because I've been eating them like the last couple of weeks. I kind of rediscovered them in the bottom of the freezer and eating them this week, and they are.
So what do you mean
Did
by
you blanch them?
Sorry,
Did you blanch them, or did
yeah,
you just?
I blanched them, and I've tried it
Yeah.
before and blanched them, and it hasn't worked. But I think what I didn't do was dry them well enough. So when I blanched them this time, I blanched them and then I properly patted them down. And when they were really hot, I laid them out on kitchen roll so that all of that water evaporated, and they were really, really dry when I froze them, and they were really fantastic. I think I've done it too wet before.
So is that what you mean by
mistake I
blow?
made.
That the water's freezing and then it just kind of pops up,
Goes mushy, yeah.
When you defrost them, they've got like not a very nice texture. It's not like that really nice crunchy. So you have to kind of put them when they're not very nice frozen. You try and hide them in soup and stuff because you don't really want them. But the ones that I did this year, because they were so dry when I froze them, you can actually just put them back in the hot water and eat them as like a vegetable on their own. It really worked well.
right?
It's picking them at the right time, really. They want to be firm on the plant as opposed to a little bit over as well. So,
Actually, talking about preserving as well, it's Sophie, allotment newbies, asking to anyone, can I use glass jars I've saved for preserving? Jess?
Yeah, I would think so.
I guess just put them in a pan of boiling water.
Same
Yeah.
game. Yeah.
Boil them to sterilize them, as long as
Well,
they're
actually,
sterilized.
last year we did actually try doing, the beautiful like Italian beans where they're all lined up beautifully around the edge, like that. We've still got them in the cupboard. We're too like they're too pretty to open at the moment, so we haven't gone near them.
So how
Wait a minute.
they're in a jar then, Jess? Just talk through. They're in a jar in water, in a brine or something?
Like in a brine, in like a
Right.
salt water.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you'll take them out and cook them, or we just have them raw?
Do you know? I haven't got a clue. When I do eventually open one, I'll see what's going on. They're so beautiful. It's like, when you walk into like an Italian deli and there's just all this magnificence on the wall of like perfect little garlic cloves in olive oil and stuff. I've got like a tiny corner of my larder that looks like that, and I'm really reluctant.
Oh, bless.
Jess, I remember watching, I think we might
Instagrammable.
I remember watching yours,
in my
Jess.
own brain. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm jumping in. I'm saying, Jess, I remember one of your videos where you shelled broad beans, and I tried it. What a faff on! I thought, I'm just going to eat them. Kind of.
Double podding.
Sorry.
Double podding.
Yes. You did that double.
Always double pod a broad bean.
Oh,
Worth it.
I did it once, and it was like I think I might overcook them anyways because they were going. Odd ones were a little bit popping out, a little bit mushy. And I was thinking, this is not for me.
Broad beans on toast when they've been double podded is probably one of the nicest things to eat on the planet. So good. Bit of feta cheese on top, some wild garlic. Best.
Hey, old fella, you've got to run for your money there. There's a young chef telling you what to do. Eh?
Hey, everyone's got to eat. Everyone's got to learn how to cook the food.
Not about like meat and 2 veg meals. There's a toast. Fancy.
I keep trying to do videos about like using up produce, and it's only when you start doing something like that you realise like the trend in how you eat. And I eat a lot of stuff on toast, like all of these veggies. It's like raw beans on toast. Oh, cauliflower on toast. It's like I can't really make that many videos about that.
So is the bread, Jess? Is the bread like fresh? Like you cut your bread, or is it sliced white bread you're doing this toast on, or is it a nice sourdough?
Well, no, it's like it's a good bit of bread. It's a good bit of bread. You have to, not like Hovis or something, but.
Right. Mike's allotment is asking us, when should we be sowing shallots and leeks seeds? He's already sown his onion seeds on Boxing Day. When for shallots and leeks? Stephen, what do you think?
March for the shallots, and probably the same for leeks, really. Yeah, I would go with mid to late March for both, really.
Could you, if you want to do, sneak them early, or does it not help gain anything? I'm asking as a devil's advocate. Come on, man.
No, you're not. You're asking for yourself. You're looking for me
I've got
to
ask
say,
the questions.
You go ahead, Tony. Then later in the season when they fail, you can say, you told me to sow them. That's what you're looking for. No, there's just no benefit sometimes to sowing things too early. It is what it is, you know. I mean, if you want to go early, you can go early. But with things like leek, if you go too early, then they're going to go to seed early. You know, and really with leeks, what you want, ideally or traditionally, is your leeks to sit there all winter. But if they've all gone to seed, then they're not much crop, you know. Just don't rush. You know, take your time. You've got a whole gardening year ahead of you.
You know why I kind of asked these? Because it's so easy though to have a failed germination, have another one, and then you've lost your time, and it's like you seem to be scrabbling with time. But yes,
but that's gardening. That's gardening. That's what it's all about.
It's not about just growing; it's about being in your garden, isn't it, Stephen?
It's about being out in your garden. Successes, failures, picking it up, learning from it, trying something else, you know. But you can go to extremes, you can go too far, and you can go too fast and get yourself in all kinds of trouble. Patience, you know, just need a bit. Go there and sit down like JB does with his cup of coffee, you know. Sit down, enjoy the garden.
Shout out
Don't
your
be in such a rush, man.
Well, we have come to the top of the hour already. Bang. There we go. Tips of the week. Jess, have you got... quickly, Google. Jess, Google. I'll tell you what, I'll go to Stephen, because Stephen, I know, has got one. I'm sure he has one. There we go.
Yeah, it's a good time of the year, especially when it's raining. If you're down your allotment or in your garden, just if it is raining, get yourself into your shed or into your greenhouse or tunnel and sharpen your tools. Everything goes blunt over a season. Things like your secateurs, give them a good oil and clean the blades off, because over a year of pruning with secateurs, they get covered in sap. So if you clean all that sap off the blades, use an alcohol-based cleaner if you've got one, or scrape them off, or a bit of wire wool. We get them nice and clean. They'll work better, and then you work better because of it. Sharpen your spades and your hoes, your secateurs, your grass cutters, anything like that. Even your pocket knife.
There you go. Well done. Wise words again. Jess, are you ready now?
I can give it a go. I think probably my biggest thing that happened to me this week was I potted up my chilies, and where the like shelving unit is right next to the French doors with curtains. So I had them all blocked off because they've got their own lights on them. I potted them all up and then left a gap in the curtains. Oh, where's this camera? There, a gap a gap in the curtains, and there's nothing in our house is hermetically sealed. Like there's a lot of draft, and all of the chilies that were in that draft line just keeled over.
Oh,
Wow.
never.
Not in space again. They just were like immediately.
Right.
You could see the line. So when you've just potted something up and they're a bit vulnerable, just be really, really careful with them. Don't leave them in a draft. Doesn't go well. I mean, they have actually covered, but the two that were at the very front haven't. They've gone. So
Chilies are fickle things, mind you. Like I say, especially like repotting and potting, they just do seem to like kind of cry out and wilt. Then they seem to pick back up, but fickle.
it's quite amazing to see like this whole tray of chili plants that had just been done, and just this like path straight through the centre. And I was like, what the hell has happened? I don't understand. And it was just that little tiny gap. So yeah, don't leave your curtains.
Are they wrecked? Then they're gone, are they?
No, the two at the front, I don't think are going to pick up. The rest of them, after I'd closed the curtains and they're kind of warmed up from the lights, they got their act together. But those are good.
Close shave. JB. Tip of the week.
I was going to ask you, Jessie, is the potting up of your chilies in your next video? Have you filmed it for Tuesday? I will watch with interest. I'm intrigued to see them because it seems like they're rocketing away. But my tip of the week is one for if you're growing in module trays, but it's a good tip for when you're doing different varieties of stuff. So you can see I've got the grow lights on behind me, and I have scores of varieties of chilies. There's going to be aubergines in there as well. At some point, I'm going to be mixing up different varieties of tomatoes. And what you will find quite often is that different seed varieties will germinate at different times. And when you're trying to control the temperature or the conditions in a module tray, it can be really frustrating because a seedling needs something very different from a seed. And a great little tip that I've discovered is once you start getting things germinating, you've got to propagate a lid off, get a bit of airflow on there. And to keep the moisture in on the other modules, what I've started doing is using little shot glasses on the modules to basically keep them nice and humid. And then once you start to see them germinating, you can just lift your little shot glass off.
JB, I'm sure I've seen a little photograph. You've posted that in the kind of, and I was wondering what that is. So that's like a little baby incubator for one seedling.
Yeah, it keeps a little bit more heat in.
I've got huge concerns about that. I've got a huge concern. I have a 40 module tray and you've got 2 seedlings coming up. What the heck are you doing with 38 shot glasses in your house? What sort of a life are you leading?
We picked up 40 or something the other day for £1. Little ones. That's the job.
So, JB, is germination going all right? Because you got off to a rocky start with a little snail.
I tell you what, I was really worried about my chilies. A lot of them took 3 weeks to start showing. We're on to day 29 now, I guess, and there's still some that haven't germinated, but that I've got hope for because some of the other seeds have germinated. So it just took a really long time. I've got Chinen's chili peppers in there at the moment, and it's normal for them to take 2 weeks. But they were, getting on for 3, and I was really starting to get a little bit worried. But
that's what like Steve mentioned. Though it sharp goes over. Do you know what I mean? Like 1 week, 2 weeks, and then you kind of, you miss out, and then you're scrabbling to catch up. Especially like say chilies. You know what I mean?
There are some things that, it is sometimes worth getting a head start on, and that's what I do say about the Chinen stuff. I haven't got the rest of my main chilies sown just yet. They're going in very soon in the next few days. But,
Right. Well, there we go. A fantastic show. Jess, have you picked a winner for our microgreens kit? We'll get that sorted out. If you have a little winner from tonight's live audience.
Do I have to pick it at random? Because I just was thinking, oh God, I've got to choose a comment, and I just scrolled upwards and into like a third upwards, and I think probably my favourite comment of the session was, "Toast is a magnificent vessel." I think that must win.
There you go. Now you can't get better than that for a girl that eats quite a lot of toast.
Yeah,
I mean, that's kind of.
Who said it? Who said it?
Leanne N.
Right.
Yeah. Very nice.
Right. If you give us that
Congratulations
Just
to
later
her.
on,
then.
we'll get. we'll
It
get.
speaks to that.
Leanne will get that microgreens kit to you there, and you will have 4 beautiful sprouting microgreens within a couple of weeks of sowing them. Mine are all up; they're all done. I've harvested one. I'm going on my second batch of my peas there now, and there's 2 more to harvest. There, I just loved it. To be honest, it's
They're so good.
it
Tony
works.
Tony will throw in a signed photo as well, won't you, Tony?
Actually, you could get. We'll throw in a certificate. You know, Potty Mouth Garden Club Level 1 Junior
Yeah.
certificate. There's no expense spared on this show. No expense. I'll email you the PDF. No expense spared. Right then. Well, that's it. That's it. So I want a big thank you to Jessie. And before we go, let me just show you. Please pop over to Jessie on Patreon there. Ooh, you can get a gin and tonic for $7.50 a month, or a pint or a bottle of wine for Jess. That would be fantastic if you can. That would be very. I'm sure Jess would love that if you kind of popped over there and did that. If you popped over also to Stephen on his Patreon page, it's only $3.50. $3.50. That's all it is for that old fella there. He's got 22 already. And the young lad there is catching up there. He's catching up. Pop over to JB's. And how many? JB's got 9. Please help JB out there. He's trailing behind Wood. For all the good
membership
cause. What was that, Jess?
You've got such sensible gardening related membership levels.
They are, aren't they? They're very thematic.
The most important thing, though, is to go and watch my latest video. That would be nice.
Oh, God.
Hey.
Nutter.
Yeah, nutter. Oh,
An
bloody
absolute
nutter.
nutter.
Jessie, JB, Steve, thank you very much. It's been an honour to have you on this week. Thank you so much.
Thank
indeed.
you.
Thank you, everybody,
Thanks
for
for
coming. Questions, and we'll get the little prize over to Leanne. See you again. Take care.
Cheers, everyone.
Bye.